This story portrays a world where all glaciers on Earth have melted, and the entire planet is submerged in water. The water level has risen so high that no land is visible, and the surviving people live on boats. Water has become the most valuable resource, and survival is a daily struggle. The story begins with a man named Mariner, who owns a boat. He urinates into a container and uses a filtration device to purify it, making it drinkable, as seawater cannot be consumed. At this point, water is the most precious commodity. While traveling, Mariner encounters another boat with a man on it. The man tells Mariner about an unwritten rule of the sea. When two wanderers meet, they must trade goods. However, Mariner refuses, saying he has enough supplies and recently came from a water settlement about 8 days away. Suddenly, they see two individuals in the distance known as smokers, ruthless pirates who kill and loot. Seeing the smokers approach, the man shows Mariner some fruit he stole from Mariner's boat and mocks him, saying Mariner's boat looks too damaged to escape, and he will surely die here. As the man tries to flee, Mariner pulls a lever on his boat, revealing large sails and advanced mechanisms. His boat accelerates, and the man's boat slows down as its sail tears. The smokers catch up to the fleeing man and shoot him, but Mariner manages to escape. Mariner reaches the water settlement the man had mentioned. Outside the settlement, he shows the people some soil, astonishing them, as dry soil is as valuable as gold and diamonds in a world of water. Soil can be used to grow plants, making it incredibly precious. The people allow Mariner into the settlement and weigh his soil, finding it to be over 3 kilograms. They offer him 62 coins for it, but Mariner demands double. Reluctantly, they agree, knowing the soil's value. With his coins, Mariner goes to a shop to buy drinking water. He notices a tomato plant for sale and wants to buy it, but the shopkeeper demands half his coins in exchange. The Mariner wanted that plant, so he gave half of his coins to the shopkeeper and took the plant. The shopkeeper was a girl named Helen, and with her was another girl named Enola. As the Mariner was leaving with his belongings, some villagers approached him, bringing a girl along. They requested the Mariner to spend one night with her, saying that once she becomes pregnant, he could take whatever he wanted from their village. The villagers made this request because their race had grown weak, and they needed a strong offspring to become a warrior in the future. The Mariner, being an outsider, was their only hope. However, the Mariner refused and told them they had nothing he wanted. As he began to leave, the villagers grew suspicious that he might be a smoker and captured him. They inspected his ear and discovered he was a mutant. One of them shouted, and they imprisoned him in a cage, planning to submerge him in a pit of mud. In this village, when someone dies, their body is dissolved in the mud to create fertilizer. Before the Mariner could be submerged, the smokers attacked the village. Amid the chaos, a man named Gregor, an inventor, tried to escape using his flying balloon. Gregor wanted to take Helen and Enola with him, but the balloon took off before they could board. Meanwhile, the Mariner was about to drown, but Helen rushed to him, offering to save him if he agreed to take her and Enola with him. The Mariner agreed, and the three of them escaped. The smokers destroyed the village and took over. Their leader, Deacon, ordered his men to find the girl with the tattoo, referring to Enola. It turned out that Enola had a tattoo on her back that was believed to be a map to Dryland. This was the reason the smokers attacked the village in the first place. Here, it becomes clear that there are 3 main groups in this world. 1. Smokers, brutal raiders who kill and loot. 2. Common humans, living in floating villages, struggling to survive. 3. Mutants, a rare group with gills behind their ears, allowing them to breathe underwater. The Mariner is one of them. Later, the Mariner told Helen that they might have to kill Enola because they didn't have enough water to sustain her. The 3 of them are struggling to survive, but Helen refuses Mariner's suggestion to sacrifice one of them. Mariner argues, "Without water, both of you will die. It's better if one dies now." However, Helen offers everything she has to save the child. Mariner reluctantly agrees and decides not to harm her. Meanwhile, the leader of the smokers, Deacon, orders his men to capture the girl with the tattoo at any cost, believing it is the only way to reach Dryland. He sends his men in a plane to chase Mariner. They catch up and attack them. Mariner rushes below the boat to retrieve a weapon. Seeing this, Helen thinks Mariner might be abandoning them in fear, so she prepares to face the attackers alone. Helen uses a weapon to fight back, which fires a cable that accidentally gets entangled in the smoker's plane. This causes the plane to circle around Mariner's boat. Mariner returns and, with great difficulty, cuts the cable, forcing the smokers to retreat. Later, Helen uses one of Mariner's valuable possessions without his permission, which angers him greatly. In a fit of rage, he fights with Helen and cuts the hair of both Helen and the child Enola, warning them never to touch his belongings again. After this, they resume their journey. Soon, Mariner spots another boat. Helen suggests approaching it to see if they might have food. Mariner is reluctant but doesn't want Helen and Enola to go hungry, so he agrees to talk to the person on the boat. The man on the boat doesn't have food but offers a piece of paper, a rare and valuable item in this world. The man proposes to give the paper in exchange for spending some time with Helen. Reluctantly, Mariner Mariner agrees and leaves Helen with the man. The man takes Helen below deck and begins to assault her. However, Mariner intervenes in time, telling the man he no longer wants to proceed with the deal and orders him to leave. When the man refuses and pulls out a knife, a fight breaks out. Mariner ultimately kills the man. Afterward, to satisfy their hunger, Mariner dives into the water and catches a large fish. The three of them sit together and eat, finally finding a moment of peace amidst their struggles. After spending a lot of time together, Helen started liking Mariner, and Mariner also began to fall in love with Helen. They all spent a happy time together for a while. One day, Mariner noticed that the smokers were chasing them again. Using his binoculars, he saw some people right in front of them. He began to wonder why they were after him when he had no conflict with them. Helen then explained to Mariner that Enola had a tattoo on her back, which the smokers believed could lead them to Dryland. Mariner found this idea ridiculous and dismissed the possibility of such a place existing. However, Helen insisted that Dryland was real because when they found Enola, her basket contained dry soil that was very different from Mariner's surroundings. To prove to Helen that Dryland didn't exist, Mariner took her underwater in a sealed box and showed her massive submerged buildings. He hoped this would convince her that the idea of dry land was just a myth. However, when they returned to the surface, they discovered that the smokers had taken over their boat. The smokers' leader, Deacon, demanded to know where Enola was. Before they arrived, Enola had hidden herself, and Helen had seen her but chose to remain silent as she didn't trust the smokers. Deacon threatened to kill both Helen and Mariner if they didn't reveal Enola's location. Before they could execute the threat, Enola came out of hiding and Deacon captured her. He then ordered Helen and Mariner to be killed, but the two jumped into the water to escape. Since Helen couldn't breathe underwater, Mariner helped her by sharing his breath, allowing them to stay submerged for a long time. When they resurfaced, they saw that the smokers had destroyed their boat. Despite the destruction, Helen began to admire Mariner for his kindness, and the two grew closer, eventually falling in love on the ruined boat. Later, while Helen was asleep, Mariner went below the deck to check his belongings. Among his items, he found a map he had taken from a man they encountered earlier. The map depicted an island with many trees, similar to the drawings Enola had made. Realizing that the tattoo on Enola's back was indeed a map to Dryland, Mariner connected the dots. Enola always drew what she saw. However, their escape seemed impossible since their boat was no longer functional. At that moment, Grigor arrived with his flying balloon, offering a glimmer of hope. He comes to Helen and says, "It's a good thing you burned your boat. The smoke led me here." After this, he takes both of them with him to the surface. Nearby, there are some people who had fled the settlement attacked by the smokers. Upon reaching there, the Mariner says, "I will bring Enola back." Saying this, he reaches the large ship where the smokers live. There, many people are gathered, and they ask their leader, Deacon, "Leader, when will we reach Dryland?" At this point, Deacon lies to everyone, claiming, "I have figured out the map, and now we are heading in that direction." However, neither Deacon nor anyone else actually knows how to reach Dryland using the map. His words, however, encourage everyone, and they head below deck to the basement and begin moving the ship forward. Just then, the Mariner appears in front of Deacon with a gun in his hand and demands, "I want the girl," but Deacon retorts, "You've walked into a trap. You won't leave here alive." At this point, the Mariner lights a torch and throws it into a nearby oil tank, causing a massive explosion that kills many of Deacon's men. Amidst the chaos, the Mariner searches for Enola, but discovers Deacon trying to escape with her on a plane. The Mariner uses a rope to crash the plane. Meanwhile, the ship begins sinking because of the explosion. Helen arrives with a hot air balloon and rescues both the Mariner and Enola. Below, the exploding ship kills nearly all the smokers. However, Deacon survives and begins chasing them on a water scooter, firing bullets at them. One of the bullets hits Enola, causing her to fall into the water. The smokers then move towards her. Before they can reach her, the Mariner ties a rope around his leg and dives into the water to save Enola. He grabs her and pulls her to safety just in time. Meanwhile, the three smokers chasing them crash into each other, causing another massive explosion that kills Deacon and his remaining men. Thus, the Mariner successfully saves Enola. Afterward, Gregor examines the tattoo on Enola's back and uses it to deduce their location by aligning it with the position of the sun. He concludes that dry land must be in a certain direction. They then steer their hot air balloon towards it. After some time, night falls and everyone goes to sleep. The next morning, the Mariner wakes up to find a bird perched nearby. He looks ahead and sees a tall mountain range, which turns out to be the Himalayas, now now lush and green. The land is filled with everything necessary for survival. As they explore the area, they come across a hut with 2 skeletons inside, who turn out to be Enola's parents. Inside the hut, they also find equipment used to create the tattoo. The parents knew they were going to die, so they tattooed a map on Enola's back, placed her in a basket, and filled it with the dry soil of their land. They hoped that when someone found Enola, they would realize there was still some dry land left in the world and could use the map on her back to reach it. At that time, Enola was so young that staying there alone would have meant certain death. Just as her parents had hoped, the plan worked, and today, Enola has returned to her home. On the other hand, it is shown that Mariner is deeply unhappy here. He feels an irresistible pull to return to the sea, which he considers his true home. Believing the ocean is calling him back, he starts preparing to leave. However, Enola and Helen don't want him to go. Helen has also fallen in love with him. Despite this, Mariner bids them farewell and returns to the sea, his home. The film ends on this poignant note.